All right, here we go.
You recognise the influence she's had.
She inspired so much femininity in advertising.
Marc Jacobs has said she's my muse.
That was our first real moment looking at Girlhood for what it actually felt like. Welcome to From Scratch, a new limited edition winter series with a new co-host unpacking one creative influence at a time. Art is therapy. Art imitates life. Life imitates art on a whole other spectrum.
She created space where women could just be, and that was interesting enough.
It makes me so much more hungry as a creative.
I just think she's had so much influence on so many different forms of art and culture. There's no one really like her.
For your most creative winter yet, listen to From Scratch by Process the Podcast. Welcome to Process the Podcast. I'm your host, Arielle Thomas, motion director, social strategist, and founder of production company Cinematom, now founder of wellness brand Remy, where we are offering you energy and focus gummies just to help you get over the 3 p.m. slump and give you more energy throughout the day to be the superhuman version of yourself. This episode is the first in a brand new series called From Scratch. But before we dive in, I'd like to thank the traditional owners of the land that this podcast was recorded on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. From Scratch came from a longing within me to really go deeper when referencing as a cohort creatively. I think we're sort of stuck in this world of Pinterest, algorithmic searches, DMing each other links, and very surface creative referencing. This is an attempt to go deeper and really understand where creativity is coming from that's informing the creative work that we put out today. And as I've moved through time, I've realized that a lot of my own peers in the industry, we're all of a similar age, give or take 10 years. We took on stimulus for the first time together. Now, as we're asked to reference or share our taste in something in one way or another, there's a through line of our unique experiences still being struck by the same chord as what was shown to us for the first time and we felt seen back then when we were taking on stimulus and understanding it. It's ingrained now in our taste. A great example of this is my guest, Hannah Scott Stevenson, sharing that she was deeply influenced by Sofia Coppola's visuals, and she's not the only one. I've brought on the amazing Elena Cameron from Adora House to help me with the brand side to deep dive into these creatives with me, because from the brand builder side, how can we incorporate our own personal brands and the fabric of our own lives into our creatives? We're using these iconic case studies as an example. So enter From Scratch, where Elena and I have chosen 4 creatives across 4 months to unpack their unique creative process. We've connected their dots and asked a few experts to weigh in along the way to get you ready for the coziest creative winter of your life. Not only do I encourage you after listening to every episode to dive into the stimulus that we've shared, the film lists, the reading lists, and so much more that we share to do that creative work, but to form your own opinions, connect your own dots, consider your own creative existence and what parts of you are being called to the forefront to work with in your own creativity. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, for all the DMs, for all the chats in the group chat, and showing up every single week while I've recorded conversations with some of my favorite creatives. A quick trigger warning for this episode. In the nature of exploring Sofia Coppola's body of work, her first film is called Virgin Suicides, and with that comes some link and reference to suicide. Please be mindful, please seek out help if you need it, and please take care. Head over to our Instagram and follow along for all the work that we're sharing from these amazing creatives for the next 4 months. Let's dive in.
That was, so we just jumped straight into it. Okay, hi, I'm Elena. I'm a marketing strategist. I have a brand consultancy called Adora House. I work with predominantly fashion, beauty, and lifestyle brands on...
You work with some bangers too.
I do, which is fun.
Who are some of your clients? Because we know them.
Who is Elijah?
Yes.
Bondi Boost. I'm actually wearing Who is Elijah now, so if it smells
You
good.
smell great, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, so like mainly in fashion, beauty, and lifestyle verticals, but then also some more like traditional industries like finance, property. So like some more conservative marketing, which is still fun. But like passion is definitely fashion, beauty, and lifestyle. And I think I've been someone that's always been obsessed with the storytelling of like cult-followed brands.
You can tell that in your content.
Oh, thank you.
It came about because, okay, I'm going to take you guys down memory lane. So
throw it back.
We don't really know where this episode's going to take us as well, because we've never done this before.
Yeah,
and
go easy on us.
Yeah, you're literally going to watch us figure this out.
In lifetime.
Yeah, and it's something that I'm so happy to expose, because I think treating these things like an experiment and never really knowing where they're going to go. We've like got the mics recording, cool, the lights on, and then we've got cameras, but I have no idea where this will go, how far we'll go into the YouTube kind of vibe on this. If there's only 4, if it's something we bring back, if there's 3, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're so early days on this and we just wanted to do it. So we were like, okay, and now you guys are just going to watch us
figure it out.
Yeah, literally. But I want to encourage everybody else that's listening to just do that because here we are. It was a little idea and now we're here.
And there's so much, like, I also feel like she's got such a full life, like we spoke about. There's so much to talk to. So whether it's just, and I also think it's worth mentioning because maybe there'll be people thinking like, oh, okay, I'm not really into film or I'm not really into like movies or I don't even recognize a lot of her movies. You recognize the influence she's had. Like even 100%. If you don't know the names, if you grew up on Tumblr, you know who she is.
Sad Girl is her.
Yeah, like that sad, like melancholy feeling.
Yeah, yes.
Like that.
She was the first one to identify that.
Yeah, yeah. And she's also, I can't really think of someone else that does it as well. And also her daughter is so iconic. So there's like a whole new generation of people. I've saved some TikToks to show you.
Yeah, I can't wait. I specifically didn't see them because I wanted the reaction IRL to be like, what?
I feel like you would have seen it, the iconic video of like her chartering a
helicopter. I would have remembered it. I don't think I have. So I'm not on that side of TikTok.
She also is just like brought out a whole new generation of people that are obsessed with Sofia because of her daughter. And she's like in the background of her videos and top comments will be like, do you have your own Sofia Coppola? Oh no. Do you have your own Sofia Coppola like in the house? And then she's like, yeah, it's my mum. Like she's just really lent into the privilege and dynasty as well that she's been born into.
Yeah.
Which I love.
All right. Here we go. I think we need your fingerprint on the Mac.
Oh, mine actually doesn't work. So we'll just put in my password, which is my dog's name.
Sofia Coppola was born May 14 in 1971 in New York City, which is cool to be born in New York City in the first place.
So cool.
Like that's just epic.
She's also such a New York gal.
Yes.
Don't you think?
100%. I think now she lives in West Village, which is so her.
Oh, dude.
She was born to filmmaker Francis Ford Coppola, which we know, obviously, her dad is royalty and his dad was also in the industry.
Yeah, but I think like to create The Godfather, you'd have to, like he, I think, was the first person in the family to achieve that level of success.
Oh, 100%.
Like everyone knows The Godfather. Like like the franchise he created is pretty incredible.
He's royalty. And obviously we can't leave out her mum, documentarian Eleanor Coppola. She grew up between Napa Valley and New York City. I think they moved there as like home base because LA was not the right place for them to grow up, which is cool. And now she spends a lot of time there.
Her dad bought her like on set. So she really grew up on set. She wasn't one of those kids that didn't have a relationship with a busy parent. So I think that, you know, we talk about nepotism and opportunity and what family you were born into. But I think even her willingness and like eagerness to be a part of the life that she was maybe hoping to one day have from a really early age is quite unique.
Totally.
So she was definitely somebody that did a lot with the opportunities that were afforded to her.
100%. We talked about it, that she did a podcast with Dax Shepard, and he was like, what was that like? And now you're a filmmaker. Was it easier for you? And she sidestepped it to be like, no, that was my 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
And that she didn't say that it was like, I just watched this world. She was really strongly suggesting that no, she just had the opportunity to learn film a lot faster than what others would and kind of absorb all that earlier, which I think was such a good sidestep because she would obviously get like Nepo baby 100%. All the time.
She's such a successful person and she absolutely got a head start in life, but she's never denied that. And I think that's something that makes her so likable. And also her daughter is the same. Like they don't deny the privilege that they were born into. And at least they did something pretty remarkable with it, or Sofia. I feel like her daughter will as well. She's an amazing writer. She like writes these journal entries and then reads them out on TikTok, and you just know one day there's going to be a movie that's like written by her daughter.
The earliest thing that you can really pinpoint of her is when her older brother passed away at 15. She then, the grief that would have encountered, he was in a boating accident, and that kind of trauma and grief rocking you. My ears pricked up reading that because it makes so much sense then that Virgin Suicides was her first film. She was trying to encapsulate grief in a way that teenage girls can't really get out. Like it feels like a message in a bottle, literally. Like how do you then identify that. And I think her early success, there's so many quotes as well that we've got about her early success. It literally identified and put women on the screen in a way that we haven't actually seen them before.
Yeah.
Like with Lux, the character, like the overly sexualized. Then you've got the character of Cecilia, the younger sister, who is the first one to commit suicide. She is like the super melancholy one. And like it all just kind of unfolds right in front of you to look at Girlhood. And it makes so much sense now to listen back to the episodes of like Hannah Scott Stevenson and the Rush Girls, because that was our first real moment looking at Girlhood for what it actually felt like. Although obviously it's called virgin suicides, and suicides do take place. It's not all doom and gloom, but that gloom, I think, that comes with not only hormonal, but when something happens to you as a teenager, what that then feels like and what it does to your home, and therefore what it does to you, and the energy around you changes, and then things fester. That was a true look at the grief element, but then also her identifiability there in Girlhood, and like the flouncy, really feminine, girly side of Girlhood and what that looks like. She definitely went into it further with Marie Antoinette, which is 2 films' time. But that some of those images and editorials of the sad girl model that's so stunning. It's like that line, tragically beautiful. That.
And I think as well, like she was able to tell a story at a time where stories weren't being told that way.
No.
And I think that's probably what put her on the map was, the Virgin Suicides. I mean, for people that haven't seen it, I think it's a great movie. I mean, it's very sad, but it's like...
It moves through it, though.
Yeah. And it lingers. It's one of those things that stay with you. And we sort of spoke about it briefly, like all the other art, movies, TV, books that have been maybe influenced, inspired, whatever, by the Virgin Suicides. But even how she got there, I think, is so interesting, like how she chose to sort of pursue that as her first real, like, debut film.
Yeah.
And I think it's also worth mentioning, just for people that are, like, unfamiliar, she had a feature in The Godfather 3, which flopped massively, and she was criticised awfully.
Did the movie flop or she flopped?
The movie flopped, but she was really, really dragged through the mud, and she disappeared for 10 years. Like, she didn't try and have some redemption arc and try and find a new role in a new movie and come back. She literally quietly disappeared, obviously worked on her art. I think she started a fashion brand.
Yeah,
like
she did.
I see like a woman of depth. She's done a lot. And then she came back, but this time behind the camera, which I think is so iconic. She was like, okay, well, I'll come back, but I'll come back on my terms.
Yeah.
And then even how she chose to pursue the Virgin Suicides, as you said, obviously influenced by her own experiences with grief. Somebody else already had, like, was it the rights to and like her saying, well, I'll do it better. And then
she just wrote them a letter, like off the cuff, and was
wild?
Like, hey, I just really want you to read my screenplay of it. She started the screenplay because she was doing it as an experiment. Again, experiments are key here in creativity. She literally was just like, okay, I'm just going to try and do one chapter. And then the chapters unfolded into the entire screenplay. She worked on it, realized that the rights were already bought. And then she was like, please let me direct this. And producers.
They liked her version.
Yeah. And that's unreal. But I mean, also, you'd probably be like, Sofia Coppola, that last name's going to help us with box office. She didn't just disappear and sulk, I think. She disappeared and put herself to work. You would obviously see such a tenacious young lady.
And so much grit as well.
So much grit.
You said it perfectly when you're like the hardest working Nepo baby of all time.
Yeah, literally. She is, because she just doesn't stop, and her curiosities lead her down such incredible rabbit holes that I would be so afraid to take risks the way that she does.
Yeah.
But anyway, one day we'll get her on the podcast and actually talk to her about this.
Would that be perfect? Is this like your plugs?
Hey, girl. So she also then uncovered her first muse, which was Kirsten Dunst.
Yes.
She cast people in the Virgin Suicides, like Danny DeVito was the school principal. I think, like, from a Nepo baby point of view, she was casting people that were probably like frequenting her dad's house, like at the dinner table, to be like, give me a cameo or something like that. I think there was a lot of family friends maybe rallying. Her dad EP'd it, executive produced, which when you're an executive producer, you help gather money, but also you open up your little black book. That's sort of what it is, because filmmaking is all about chemistry and who you put in what role. And I think her dad EPing it was probably also just like a trust thing, almost like a guarantor of a house. You don't really need them there. In everything that I've read and seen about it, I don't think that there was that much like overbearing, oh, dad said I got to do this, dad said I got to do that.
Yeah. It seems that she had her own like creative freedom to sort of make it her own. She obviously had such a strong vision, and she's already achieved so much. So even before she took on like the first film, she'd already been working and had done so much.
Yeah.
So that, as you said, she got her 10,000 hours so quickly. This wasn't necessarily foreign to her, and this was her first gig. Like she'd already witnessed so many other people doing what she was then basically emulating. So it's no wonder why I think she achieved so much success. And then the second film she did, Lost in Translation, got her an Academy Award, which is pretty incredible. Like
100%. But she was doing things as well, Virgin Suicides. She did things with the girls, exercises that a director has to kind of have a bit of a backbone to make that call. Like putting all the girls in the room together for hours doing nothing before they recorded, to then just put the camera in to catch them in their I don't want to say leisure, because they were grieving, that layabout state when they were sort of a bit aimless with what to do because their younger sister had passed away. Like she put the girls in the room and just got them to spend heaps of time together, literally laying about, and did things that were really like inherent to what a director that knows what they're doing and how to work with actors does. She was making really bold choices. She wasn't just kind of like
winging it.
And being like, hey guys, like like from what I got the sense of everything that I've absorbed and listened to about what she did on that film, everything was really hers and her own, and the choices she was making were very much her.
Not like her dad, and she thought I'll copy and paste what I've seen growing up.
Exactly.
And she's also a very calm person.
Oh my God,
like
Lost in Translation is so autobiographical in that sense. Scarlett Johansson's character is her.
But then, okay, is that all of the characters that she's done? Because whilst all of her like movies are so different, there's a lot of commonality between them as well. And I think there's that lost, female, I guess not all of her films have got female protagonists, but there is that lost sense of like an identity crisis basically, which I think is across so many of her films. Even in Marie Antoinette, like that's not necessarily what the movie's about, but it's this, young girl who's in well over her head, this gilded society privileged world that she's been born into / married into, and how alone she felt in that. And then I wonder if then, potentially that's what Sofia felt growing up. Like she was born into such wealth as well, obviously not Marie Antoinette level, but maybe potentially she felt isolated and she felt alone and she felt misunderstood. Like maybe the reason she can understand how to tell stories to a younger audience so well is because she endured a lot of that and just didn't have art at the time that kind of echoed what she was experiencing.
Totally. That would be it.
It just comes back to storytelling again.
You pulled the quote from Naomi Fry in The New Yorker. Coppola's work has created a visual and emotional language for a type of beautiful, bored, isolated womanhood that hasn't been properly articulated before. Justine Harmon wrote for Elle, Sofia Coppola made it glamorous to be introspective and not to have all the answers, to float a little, to long for something more without knowing exactly what that something is. Like everything she does, those one shots of just, and she chooses people like Kirsten Dunst because Kirsten's got so much in her face. She doesn't have to move a muscle and she's just got so much. So when she would look at a muse, I think you would be pairing the fact that you need a talent that has so much behind the eyes.
There's that quote that she said something like that. She's this, beautiful blonde girl with like depth behind her eyes, or what that depth is, but when you look at her you can just, there's this sad girl. It's like that beautifully, tragically beautiful, like coming back to that again. That's very, very her.
Totally. The Lost in Translation script she wrote, and she wrote it based on her relationship with her husband, who she was separating from at the time.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
So her husband, Spike Jonze, is behind some of the most iconic music videos ever. And he did.
Was that also Scarlett Johansson's like breakout role?
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing.
She did that movie with the horses. Like, and she did movies like Guesties, and she did an amazing movie with Robert Redford when she was a teenager. And then this was like her like womanhood role, because she was only 17. And then her kissing Bill Murray, everyone was like, that's fucked. But then you like kind of have to get the depth of the film to be like, got it.
That's my favorite movie of hers.
Yeah,
which is no
incredible.
Surprise. It's like obviously hugely acclaimed, but it was also really interesting how she explored the loneliness that both of, the two main characters felt for different reasons. Like there was this washed up actor, and then there was this, beautiful person at the start of her life who felt like she had no meaning or purpose. And again, I feel like it just comes back to the fact that she creates stories where women aren't there to serve the broader story of the man. Like, they're not the supporting character. And I feel like she created space where women could just be, and that was interesting enough. Like, they didn't have to be the scorned wife or this like hot lover. Like, it was just a lost girl who felt misunderstood, and you felt that, you know, loneliness and sense of emptiness within them. And that was interesting. That was the story, like, full stop.
Do you remember this movie poster adaptation?
No.
Okay, so adaptation was Spike Jonze's her husband's first feature film.
Oh, with Nicolas Cage.
Yes, her cousin, who changed his name because he didn't want the Nepo baby privilege that may come with that last name. So Cage, he made up.
Even come
I
from?
don't know. I have no idea. We should figure that out. But I know.
Cage.
I know. Maybe he did
dangerous.
that as like a cage because he didn't want to be. Maybe it's metaphorical.
Maybe he felt like he was in a cage.
Exactly. I don't know. The way that she wrote Lost in Translation, she was staying in a hotel in Tokyo with Spike Jonze because he was getting all of the acclaim based on adaptation and like that work in his first feature. Previous to that, he had done every music video under the sun. More recently, you would know him from Otis, the one from Jay-Z and Kanye West. You know that one with them with the huge American flag behind them?
Yes.
He did like Biggie Smalls, like Notorious B.I.G. His breadth of work is fucking unreal. Yeah. And then after he did adaptation, he moved into Jackass, which is so random to go from that to Jackass, but like whatever, each to their own. But I think there's that scene in Lost in Translation where Scarlett Johansson's character's boyfriend is in the lobby and there's that really peppy Anna Faris and Anna's like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. And Scarlett Johansson's like, who are you? Hey, and she's wearing a sweater and she's very like not expressive, but she doesn't get addressed, and I don't think that she meets that level of bubbly. And I think that is Sofia.
Oh my God, that's actually such a good comparison.
Yeah.
She is such a like introspective gal. And even in interviews when people like prepping her up, she's like, oh yeah. Like she's immune to feedback or like praise or any emotion that's like big.
She doesn't
She's a very
spike.
subtle person.
It's subtle is the right word. She's very like demure, I guess, in that.
Very demure. Yeah.
And the way that relationship happened, she just kind of sat back. And I think that she wrote Lost in Translation based on that being somewhere for the success of Spike, but having no real place there to be like, well, what am I doing now? Yeah. And off the back of the press tour for Virgin Suicides, she got to know the city, and then she realized that the Park Hyatt in Tokyo was the right place to do it.
Right.
So then they've talked about doing all the filming stuff they had to film at night as to not disrupt the hotel. Yes. A lot of like Bill Murray's like run down and the characters' like tiredness and sleep deprivation apparently was actually quite natural because it was so late in the night that they were recording and stuff.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, like again, I don't understand these decisions. Like I'm not like into this stuff, but fascinating that she even had the instinct to be like, okay, this is how we're going to do it to make it seem as authentic as possible. Like she didn't just roll with what, you know, she might have had a bigger budget by then or who knows. And she still was just like, this is how I'm going to tell the story in the most authentic way. It feels very similar.
Yeah. She's very good at worlds too. Like Virgin Suicides, there was like in the bathroom, there was like enormous tampons, like stuff, clutter. It's just like teenage girl shit everywhere. Yeah. And then she stripped all of that back, and the only real props that are in this hotel and these hotel rooms is true to what the hotel would have, like a compendium where like the fucking all the information and shit gets put, all that kind of stuff, like objects that are just part of travel. Because what I love so much about hotels is when you go in, you come with all your stuff and you leave with all your stuff, and your world and your things that you carry with you just plays out. And then the next person walks in at 3 p.m. and does the same thing that you did maybe, but
it's very monotonous.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But what I also loved about that is it was highly inappropriate for either of those people to feel a connection in that film. Firstly, because both of them have a significant other.
Yeah.
And also because of the age gap.
There was so much.
No, she played like a young, early 20s.
Yeah, I think
like just graduated college.
She just graduated. She had a go at writing but didn't like anything she'd written. Like the classic. I feel like everyone kind of goes through that.
Yeah, that lost, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing kind of a thing. But that moment of you are all the way across the world and you're in a time capsule in location, the world that you live in 365 is behind you, or you've had a little spark with a person that would never really play out in real life, but you never forget it. That like
I just like was rooting for them. Is that really toxic? I feel like it's because they were both so.
Is it toxic?
It is, because I feel bad. It was one of those things where don't you just feel like it's one of those things where they're both clearly such unhappy people, and then they've found, I wouldn't even say happiness, they've just found this like mutual longing, I guess, like
longing
in each other. And even that scene where they fall asleep, like I wouldn't say it ever is an inappropriate relationship until they fall asleep in the bed together, and then he kind of touches her foot, and it's like the first moment they've initiated any kind of physical contact. And to be honest, like the only time really, until right at the end, obviously, when they like hug and they have that kiss. But it's like just such a strong relationship because they're both so empty and almost depleted. And also on opposite ends of the spectrum, like he's achieved so much success. He's kind of a washed up movie star that's promoting like whiskey. And then she's at the start of her life equally as lost, but for a different reason. And they don't really, like, even she tries to confide to a friend, she calls somebody back home and she's sort of crying. She's like, I don't know who I married, or I don't know what I'm doing. And the friend was just busy in the background, like didn't really have time for it. I think she said like, I'll call you next week. And it's really interesting to be able to like showcase both extremes of loneliness and for different reasons, but in such a subtle way. Like they're barely speaking about it. You can just tell that they're really unhappy people. And I just feel like it's got that severe effect, like a lot of her other films do, where there's just a quiet longing and they both just want more than what they have, but they don't know what that more necessarily is.
It would be fascinating for her to be that young, write a film about longing at such a wise, beyond her years age, and have the entire Academy celebrate it and be like, that's brilliant. Like, I mean, like Virgin Suicides, it was a look back at girlhood. And then to be able to look back at maybe her marriage or something like that, because she was pretty young when she married Spike, I think. Like, I don't think it was necessarily like a later in life marriage by any means. It's interesting to be like, wow, she got it so right. And that quiet and that subtlety of her, sometimes I'm just like, what is going on? But what are you noticing?
Like how are you so good? Like she knew who she was telling stories to. She knew what stories weren't being told at the time and how she could, you know, do it in a way that was not even better. Because really, like at the time, it doesn't seem crazy to us now that we're like telling stories about women that don't have to be loud to be heard. Whereas back then, that didn't happen. And so her being so ahead of the curve and telling these stories that are, you know, simple and they're quiet, but they're still worth telling, I think was very reflective of like who she was as a person and exactly that quiet like nuance that she naturally has, and just nailing the storytelling approach. Because the rest of the movie, like it's pretty simple. It's all, well, not all, but a lot of it's just shot at the hotel. Like there's not too much complexity regarding it, but it's just that innate suffering that they're both feeling that you can't help but feel too. It's almost contagious. Like, you know, when you watch sad movies, like whenever I watch The Handmaid's Tale or something, I have to stop and I'm like, oh, I'm not really okay anymore. Like you just have to like absorb all the feels. I think that's what she's done at a time where people weren't really doing that in such a subtle way. Like no one was necessarily having to die in Lost in Translation for you to feel empty after it finished. Which is pretty unique.
I don't think I'd ever seen a film either about two people appropriately inappropriate, but they felt really comfortable around each other. And that, I've had that. Like I've travelled around the world. I had it at Cannes Film Festival in 2015. And I met this guy there and we were chatting about work and stuff, and then really quickly he dropped his guard and we were just chatting away. But he was obviously in that circumstance at home where he was longing for something, and I met him at that longing. And that was really the first time that I'd actually, in Lost in Translation, had I ever actually been able to be like, oh, this is actually quite normal. We're moving around the globe in an orbit, but I wonder if she met anyone.
That's so interesting.
If she met somebody potentially older or anything that poised that for her.
But even you saying that, I reckon there'd be a lot of people that can relate to something similar, being like, I found myself in a situation where I was already in a relationship, but I developed this connection with somebody, and especially when that connection's forged through a mutual like feeling like you're both lost in the world.
You'd be clinging onto each other like a lifeboat.
You've got this weird dependency as well. And I feel like that's why when she walked in and he was, you know, he'd like slept with somebody and she was really hurt. And it was almost this weird thing where, do you remember this? Like he like slept with some woman, and then
Bill Murray's character. Yeah.
And then Scarlett Johansson came knocking on the door and like heard her singing in the shower.
Yeah.
And it was almost as if like his wife had caught him and she was so hurt and she had no right to be hurt.
Yeah.
But you felt outraged on her behalf.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to cheat, like, cheat with Scarlett.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
totally.
So it's just, it's interesting how she's been able to capture that. And it makes you think, like, did she experience something, or was she just able to understand that a lot of, women or people in general are experiencing these, human experiences that aren't really told through film because they're not these like monstrous big events, but they're still something that are like very human to feel misunderstood. And then feel understood through somebody else.
Yeah. So feeling that moment in a marriage of loneliness when you're in a coupling, but then also understanding what it feels like when it's inappropriate for you to have a connection with somebody else. But you can tell that these big things have happened to her, and she finds a way to hold on to them and to document them very, very carefully. I don't want to jump forward too far, but there's something in Somewhere, which she did at Chateau Marmont as well. She saw a car crash with Helmut Newton in it. Helmut Newton is one of our most prolific, famous fashion and lifestyle photographers of all time, ever, period. He's unreal and one of her favourite photographers. He died in a car crash outside Chateau Marmont, and she saw the wreckage, and she put that in the film.
That's so interesting.
She just puts things in because they're like a tapestry of her life.
Yeah.
And they are of her makeup, and she plants them in time. So they leave her memory and she marks them in her filmology.
God, I have such an awful memory. I would never be. I would be a useless filmmaker. But isn't that interesting? You can remember these things. I mean, obviously that's a massive event, so that's pretty hard to forget.
Yeah.
But other experiences that just naturally get swept away with the passage of time, and then you keep them and you think, like, I'll just go make a movie and win an Academy Award because I told this story that people didn't think was worth sharing.
Yeah.
But you're so right. Like, everything she's done, Virgin Suicides was potentially as a result of the grief that she experienced. It would be really interesting if she divulged a lot of this because she's such a private person.
There's enough out there that backs up the fact that Virgin Suicides was linked to her brother. There's her need for writing Lost in Translation was the miscommunication and the mismarriage that she had by marrying the wrong person in Spike Jonze. And then what she was feeling in Somewhere was her reflective relationship with her dad, essentially. And like how they got along like a house on fire, but there was that huge teenage disconnect. And that was probably when Sofia was about to have her own children.
Yeah.
Because she was like, well, hang on, what am I bringing into the world? So she probably went to explore that in that narrative like that. Do we then go to Marie Antoinette?
Yeah.
Marie Antoinette. An enormous undertaking, but probably also the biggest budget she's ever had.
Yeah, it was so good. I feel... When's the first time you watched that? Because I watched that for the first time only when we sort of started this.
Oh, I think I saw it when it came out.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I know. I had in film school, I had to watch it for...
Yeah.
I went to drama school and we had to do something from it, or something that it was like, watch this. This is around the era of, and like when you do that kind of stuff, they give you like lists of shit. So we were doing like probably a 1700s, or Marie Antoinette was set when? How old is she?
1700s.
Yeah, it's the French Revolution.
Yeah.
1700s, they put you in a position where you've got all this stimulus to watch literature and film about that era so that you can kind of absorb it. So I think I had to watch it from that point of view. But the way that she put Kirsten Dunst on the cover of that script looking like such a saucy muse.
It's also interesting how she then like used her again. Like it's, you know, when people talk about the muse and working with the people that you work with, I wonder what drew her back to her. I guess she's an incredible actress, but that was such a different story to things that she'd done. Like it feels very unique. And
might have come from the audience wanting more of Lux.
Yeah.
Because Lux in Virgin Suicides was so cool and so you needed to give Kirsten Dunst a huge spotlight. Like you just have to.
I wonder if that's it. And she also loves her. Like she always praises her, and she'll like post her birthday on Instagram. Like you can tell Sofia really, really loves her, and like would feel this sense of owing, I guess, because she was such a big part of her first film.
The way that Italians do it, of keeping things in the family as well, I think also would be a thing. Like in filmmaking, and I've mentioned this to you, when you find your people, you do not let them go. And it's really hard for the new age of filmmakers and stuff. Like even I've got girls that listen to the podcast being like, how do I assist? How do I get into that industry? Or like, how do I do it? Because no photographer on a job where they have to move really quickly, prove themselves, work at a really crippling speed for the amount of shots that you've got to get in environments, usually outdoor elements and stuff like that, that you're not in control of, or sometimes with a client that's difficult. There is no way under the sun that you could put someone like me, or even I could say some of the photographers that have come on the podcast, that you would want to be in an environment of someone, of an unknown that you don't know gets you.
Yeah.
So it's not about like,
can't take that risk.
Yeah. Like it's about you being paid, and it's much more than, oh, they don't work with anyone other than their people. It's not really about that. It's about, I can do the best work that I can do given the circumstances that I am in.
Yeah.
Or, hey, well, my team and I are going to fucking Bora Bora for a job. Obviously, I'm going to reward the people that have been with me through thick and thin to do this. And you create this shorthand. Like I have it with Tyler. We call something that we do regularly for Kmart, we call them worms. They're not worms at all. Yeah. They're just like a style of animation that goes up the screen. Or Matt Jenkins, who I work with regularly as a DP, he knows so much about what I've been through in the past 3 to 4 years on a emotional purpose, like scope of family, all of that breadth of what have been through. If I don't know the answer to something, he will show me his answers and then I get to choose one.
Yeah.
And like,
so interesting.
It's a problem-solving cadence and like a thing that you just have.
Yeah.
And the shorthand, I think that she would have chosen Kirsten Dunst because it's so familiar. So if you're working on something that could be so highly criticized, so foreign and so ambitious, and you're working in Paris at fucking Versailles.
I know.
At the Versailles. Like, are you insane? If you have 15 minutes to shoot this thing where she's swimming in the fountain, I don't know, she doesn't swim in the fountain, but you know what I mean? Like something, and
running
you need to get the look and you need to get that thing on camera. Fuck yeah, you choose Kirsten Dunst for that because you know that look, because she also probably wrote the film thinking of Kirsten.
Yeah, probably.
Like,
I guess it's like we always have you hear people all the time saying, I wrote this with such and such in mind. Like, there's no one else I could have imagined playing the role. So maybe it was just the perfect fit. And also she'd worked with her, had success. And like you said, I don't know how long they had to film in Versailles, but I don't imagine it was like endless.
It was like 6 months, I think.
Wow. But like, it's also incredible that they even got that. Yeah.
So post 9/11, that is a really interesting time for them to be able to do it. And I remember reading somewhere that they just got to leave all their film gear in Marie Antoinette's bedroom.
Really?
Like pelicans, like this on a much more enormous scale. Imagine. And they were like, yeah, it's already here now. Just don't bother moving it. It's fine. Like so the lax that they had. I don't know why they would do that.
I don't know why either. Maybe they loved The Godfather or they loved The Virgin Suicide.
They're like, my people. Okay. I don't know.
That's funny.
At that level of speed and detail that you would have to go to when you've got a set designer or you've got somebody, and these people become family, essentially. And especially if you're from an Italian heritage where you want to be working with people. Like, I'll put Matt Jenkins on a job tomorrow because I know that he'd appreciate, firstly, the cash. Yeah. Secondly, I can trust him if I'm having a flat day. Yeah. And thirdly, because he will show up in front of the client and in any financier, investors or whatever, he's going to make me look really good at all areas because he naturally is fantastic at his job. So I get messages all the time from people being like, hey, like, want to work together? I'd like love to do this and stuff. And I'm like, yes, but nothing that has high stakes because I don't know you yet.
What would be the first thing that you would look to be like, okay, I can trust?
Something smaller and something that's really them, like oriented, like choosing a DP that is perhaps really good at movement shots or on rigs or using stuff that has animation put through it or more intimate or like has that really nice texture because they work with this style of lens. Like if you've got your look established, I feel sad saying it because I know so many people listen to the podcast that really want to be breaking into industries and stuff like that. But that's just probably also the beauty of finding your people from the get-go. She found her people very young.
Yeah.
And those people now, if you look through the filmographies, it's always the same set designer. It's often now the same composers because they're she's now married to Thomas Mars, the lead singer of Phoenix. So she has her own like music community. And then she's got her own people. And those people are your people. That's your circus.
It probably also goes to show how amazing she is to work with as well, because I'm sure it swings both ways. Like being able to continuously show up for, you know, your boss and continue choosing to work with them would also be reflective of the fact that she creates environments that probably are enjoyable and people want to be a part of them project in, project out.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily always that she was really lucky to work and find those people early. There's that, but it's also that she is such a great person to work for and people trust her vision as well. And that's why they're like happy to keep showing up.
Also, she probably had a hard time speaking to men. I would not be surprised if one of the reasons she keeps her people close is because of the mutual respect, and she probably did run into that thing of, because usually on set people will get the first ADs. Your first ADs, your first assistant director will say action. The director doesn't have to say action, but sometimes first ADs kind of let that happen. I know from an interview that she did, she found that she worked with a first AD who really encouraged her to say action so that she could feel, and her dad encouraged her to say action so that it was her set. But now with the people that she works with, she doesn't need that.
She doesn't need to prove herself.
No, like they know.
It's almost funny because it's very like pissy on like fire hydrants, you know, like feeling almost this need to be like, this is mine. And I feel like a man would never need to stake their claim. Like it would just be understood that it was
But you'd be surprised, like even through my film journey on short films, like budgets of 10 grand kind of stuff with like men that have been through VCA or DPs and stuff like that. Like I've had men come up to me, and sometimes it's attitude of different women, like when female ADs and stuff being like, I don't want that woman telling me what to do. Because they have like,
so disgusting.
And I'm like, but I'm a woman. They're like, yeah, but you're a different kind of woman. And I'm like,
what makes you different?
Apparently, like I'm just more chill and I don't bark at people. But you know that if a man on set is yelling and a woman on set is yelling, that it can kind of, so one has authority, one has like.
Yeah, it's so funny. The pipe between being like a bitch and being assertive is very small to a lot of men, I'm sure.
Totally.
I wonder, that makes me quite sad because then it makes me think, I wonder if the reason that she is so soft-spoken, like you can hear her voice in interviews, in podcasts.
The subtleties and stuff, right?
Yeah, she's just very quiet.
She doesn't take up too much space.
No, and I hope that's not because she feels that she shouldn't, because of the reasons we just said. I hope it's just because she's like a very naturally chill person, chill gal, not because she's conditioned herself to be smaller.
No, I think from the grief part, she's probably very introspective, as they've said, and she would be introverted in that way.
Yeah. We need to talk about the photo with the red dress.
Yes.
Because that's like an iconic part. And I feel like so perfectly sums up what her headspace must have been. Was that Marie Antoinette on Sofia Coppola on why she wore dresses while directing? I remember making a point of wearing a dress because that's not what directors ever wore. At the time, the few women directors there were dressed like guys, and I was determined to still be feminine while directing.
It's in the Virgin Suicides.
Oh, it's the Virgin Suicides. Interesting then that was like her first film.
So the cast of Marie Antoinette, she also discovered Jamie Dornan, who is 50 Shades of Grey.
Did she?
Yeah, that was his first real role.
Oh my God, I did not even recognize him.
Yes. A little
baby.
He looks
entirely different.
Yeah, but he did play the heartthrob. She's very good at choosing heartthrobs, from Josh Hartnett to...
Is that the guy she had an affair with?
In
Marie Antoinette?
Yeah.
I did not even pick that up.
Yeah, 50 Shades, brown chicken, wow. So she also cast her cousin, Justin Schwartzman?
Yeah.
Yeah, Marie Antoinette's husband in it, who is just, I don't know.
That's kind of weird.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
It's not her cousin. It's not. No, I know. It's not Kirsten Dunst's cousin.
No, I know. But I'm just like imagining you on a film set where you're like orchestrating this man like about to have sex and it's your cousin and you're like, okay, draw the curtains. Like it would be.
They never even engage flirtatiously. It's like, it's like a charade. So I feel like it would have been funny to watch your cousin be the awkward king.
Yeah.
Or prince.
Yeah.
And not, you know?
Yeah.
If your cousin was Jamie Dornan, that would be really weird.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's not flirting. Like, don't give her sexy
you don't
eyes.
Look sexy enough.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. But I mean, like, yeah.
I agree. I guess it's a little bit more sterile. It's like a bit more of a piss take. Like it would just not be romantic in any capacity. I feel like Marie Antoinette's one of those films where there's a lot of escapism in it.
So much.
Obviously, the film is about so much. It's not an accurate representation, obviously, of exactly what happened. But again, coming back to this girl in this like gilded society, feeling like she doesn't exactly, not necessarily even belong, but just, you know, what is her purpose? She's in way over her head. Like she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Well, the loneliness is key there as well.
The loneliness and the sense of just like, what am I doing here? What is my purpose? And I feel like she's just nailed that. So even though all of her stories are different, they all kind of are about the same thing. Like even though the actual topic might be different, there's this continuous theme of identity crisis.
Yeah, and belonging.
You know, that doesn't necessarily seem that nuanced, but I feel at the time it probably was a little bit more. It was just not maybe the norm.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like, I don't know, Euphoria, for example, Rue's character is really similar to a lot of the characters that Sofia's created.
Yeah.
Whilst obviously not necessarily exactly the same, but just that sense of like, I don't exactly belong here.
Yeah.
I feel like Sofia did that before it became a bit more mainstream.
Absolutely.
To tell stories that way.
Yeah. I think she probably helped an entire generation through that. But I don't know. I don't know also what she would have been going through. She'd left Spike Jonze. She'd met Thomas Mars. Well, she put the Phoenix songs in her films. So
through the industry.
Yes. Very much
everything
so.
in her life is like through the industry.
Yeah.
The scene in Marie Antoinette with the shoes, and she's got her Manolos like all lined up. And then you've got the Converse, and it pans to that. And I feel like it's a very subtle way of showing us that the movie's not about the 1700s. Like the movie's about even the early 2000s, and that level of, you know, consumerism and obsession with status that we saw in Marie Antoinette, but then kind of is in the Bling Ring as well later. And just maybe her commentary on how some things just never change. Like I think the placement of the Converse was really telling.
Also, it highlighted that she's just a girl.
Yeah, I'm literally just a girl, is what she said.
Yeah, literally, I'm just a girl. Like I think that would be something that you do as a filmmaker to really make sure the audience gets it. They get it. Like you can't miss that.
Yeah.
But then to have the feeling as a director, oh, yeah, okay, we need to have this in there just in case they didn't get it. But that's almost something to do when you're insecure about your storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah, like you didn't feel it was obvious enough. So let's like plant some Converse just to make sure.
Yeah.
Send a message home.
Like now I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like a good tool that you've used there. Like cool. Because there's many tools in a filmmaker's toolkit to be like, oh, yeah, great. So now you've brought something in there. And that's like, she uses these little things to make sure that things have landed. But to me, to think that it was never going to land almost is like, why would you not think that? Like,
that's so interesting. But I reckon our observations being different is reflective of the fact that like you're very much a lot more privy to those decisions, whereas I feel as someone that maybe didn't get it until I saw the Converse, like maybe she was just aware that there would be people. She was like, I need
the punters.
Make sure I need to make sure Elena gets it. But yeah, that's why I think when you watch her movies, it's really interesting. I reckon we would have different takes, and that's why also
for sure.
People who are across film and have this really sophisticated and nuanced understanding of like what makes a great movie. I don't have that. And I think that's why watching her film, some of them for the first time, or actually most of them for the first time, it's interesting watching it and still feeling like it's different to what's already being done now, even though I can imagine how I must have felt at the time. Like I think you can just imagine the Virgin Suicides would have absolutely like blown your socks off, just being like, oh, this doesn't exist. Not really looking at it through the lens of film and that's, you know, those soft pastels that she's become so famous for, but just the stories even that she's been, you know, telling for so long.
But I think Virgin Suicides crawled so that shows like 13 Reasons Why could walk.
Yeah.
And also you look at like Marc Jacobs' Daisy, that is Kirsten Dunst in the field.
Yeah.
That's it. Like she inspired so much femininity in advertising.
100%. And Marc Jacobs has said she's my muse. I feel like there's not many people.
Kirsten Dunst or Sofia Coppola?
Sofia Coppola.
Huge.
I know. I would love to be Marc Jacobs' muse.
Yes.
And to be an artist and to be a muse. Like that's also interesting because I feel like sometimes when you produce art and you create art, I don't know if there'd be a lot of
she's like slinking behind the camera a little bit with her temperament as well.
Yeah. Outside of even films, even now like in fashion, and you've still got people saying there's no one really like her. Like, she's just widely acclaimed, whether you're into film or into fashion or into art or into, you know, nowadays like social media. I just think she's had so much influence on so many different forms of art and culture.
Yeah, I think her relationship with Spike Jonze really interests me because her fascination with music would have really hit and she really got to flex what she wanted in Marie Antoinette. The first thing that you see in Marie Antoinette as a film is the like rock pop indie the soundtrack that's coming across that is explosive and all of a sudden, you know, you're not watching a period drama.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, fuck, this is modern. Like, this is amazing. This is going to be really fun.
And all the like graffiti-esque style font that's kind of like throughout.
Yeah. And that piece, I think she may have felt like in her previous films, she was in Spike's shadow of music choice. I know that when I've been in relationships and they're an expert on something, I'm almost a little bit more shy to create my touch in the same realm because I'm like, oh, well, this is just an idea. What do you think? Yeah. So Marie Antoinette, I feel like, was a huge stamp for her to be able to really express music and use that as a tool to communicate to her audience. That's almost why I feel like she didn't need the Converse because the music is so in your face to be like, no shit, it's modern.
In the opening moment of the movie, this isn't like a black and white film.
And her relationship with music on screen is one of the most amazing that I think I've ever seen in terms of her breadth of choice and a beat kicking in when it kicks, like her editors and the way that she creates her scores and chooses it's like her characters have taste. Like it's like you're listening to her character's iPod.
Yeah.
Which is usually not how you would ever think of a film to happen. I think it's always like very like, oh, and then the sad moment happens and then we're kind of taken on a bit of a journey with that, which is sometimes a no-no as well because it's like, don't make them feel something, just take them on the journey regardless. But she really used her taste in music, I think, and that adds such an amazing layer to the like almost rompiness and the fun and the party that was happening in that era as well.
Yeah.
Like the party scenes and stuff in that are just so wild.
And made better by the wardrobe as well. Like every touch point of that movie was so good. And I think as well her wardrobe designer.
I think now you could liken that to Baz Luhrmann for Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
You know how there was a lot of modern soundtrack in The Great Gatsby?
Yes. Yeah.
And I sort of imagine when I was in college in New York, one of my best girlfriends, Winslow, she was in the Tisch program for NYU at music composition and music. So she interned at this place called Search Party, and they now do all the music kind of brokerage for like the Met Gala and Vogue and like all the ads and stuff that we would see. And she did Frank Ocean's Moon River take for Breakfast at Tiffany's, like a lot of amazing projects. She used to be like, oh, sorry, I'm late. I had to get an iPod to Wes Anderson. And I was like, what? You remember when iPods were like folders and you could put them into folders and you'd scroll in and click on it? It would be like scene 4, alt 1, scene 4, version 2, like scene 4, like, and then the music composition would be like, look, Wes, we can go this direction or we could go this direction. And it would be Winslow's job to assemble all the tracks in a way that Wes Anderson could then have all the music there and he could read the script or watch the rushes and he could then hit the iPod and then like feel the world out of, okay, this is where we're going to go with this. I think I like this track. I like this. So I always think back to the iPods because this would have been the same genre.
So interesting.
For her to literally be scrolling on iPods being like, yeah, this song's sick for this. This is going to be
like
great.
Throwing it right back.
Yeah.
Just imagine her like sitting there making it her own.
Yeah, literally, that's literally what she would have done. She would have made playlists based on that. But it makes me so much more hungry as a creative to do the work to find a song and make sure that the music is not just an afterthought like it so often is, because it's just like, oh, cool, like some fucking jazzy elevator music that like works with the brand. Like I just did Vogue and we chose such random Range Rover Amex. Like we had to do all these edits for Fashion Week and we just chose such, but they were fine.
But you don't want to, describe your art as fine. Like
never. But because it's corporate, it kind of
has to be.
But imagine if I got handed a campaign where I really like spent the time to find the music. She really inspires me to go deep with the soundtracks in the world that you create through that, because it's so, everything she does is so sensory oriented, including like the color grade and the palettes that she's creating. Everything's very
distinct and very her. It almost just feels like she's had direction across every single element, which I think, I don't know, but is that normal? Like, do people tend to do that when you're like, okay, this is my vision and I'll see it through across every single touch point of this experience?
She's the one really leading
telling
the
everyone
pack.
else, like, this is how
giving us all permission to be creative like that.
I love that. It's interesting to see how, we were talking about how there's something in the Sofia Coppola story for everyone, but it's interesting to see how you've been inspired by her as well through your own work. Do you feel like it extends beyond, like before you were saying you have your people and you like to work with them and you understand that? Is there something else throughout all of her art that she's produced that like sticks with you that you kind of hold on to?
Yeah, I don't feel like she's been pushed around at all. And just her curiosity, I'm sure she has fear. The way that this is chronicalized and how every single film is so different from the next. She really goes all in for a few years and puts chapters in place. I personally at the moment am going through quite a bit of grief with, I directed a feature length, essentially, documentary on 3 different women that have breast cancer that were living. 2 of them have since passed away. And with breast cancer, one of them, Susan, has 6 children under 10. And she passed away 10 days ago. And moving through that, yes, but we sort of knew that it was coming, but when it happens, and then 3 days ago, what day is it? Wednesday. 3 days ago, my GP, who is one of, I was thinking on Sunday night, when I think he passed away on Sunday night, I want to invite him to my wedding. I'm not getting married, guys, at all. But I was thinking about my relationship with him.
With your GP?
Yeah, he's so beautiful. I'll get upset talking about it. But like,
oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. But when you go through things with grief, going through Sofia's archive and how things in life happen to her, and then she regurgitates them through, I need to stop using that word, and then she channels them and explores them and finds it in the creative. It becomes art is therapy. Art imitates life. Life imitates art on a whole other spectrum. And when you're led by creatives and look up to women like this, it becomes this huge vehicle of just trusting the process. Like, budunch that it's Process the podcast. But it's like, it's so real to be a creative individual and move through life and then develop tastes, and nothing is forever. And that can be really scary and like actually cripple you if you think about it in like a kind of paralyzing, like, oh my God, things are going to change. I don't have any control. Or you can choose to look at somebody like a Sofia that I think is fully aware of that and knows that there's so much more in the world for her to explore, and is going through her own ebbs and flows and is just moving through life with whatever project she's chosen to at the time, and then chronicalizing her experience through that. And because she's such a trailblazer, then she gets to maybe be one of the first to speak in that tone and kind of lead other female creatives through it. But I also hope that she knows that she's doing that.
Yeah, it's amazing to be somebody who has such an influence to the extent that when you start thinking about it and talking about it, like, it can bring you to tears. It's such a privilege to have a career and also to have lived experiences that then motivate and push other women forward. Because again, you can be really loud about it and there's nothing wrong with that. It's amazing. We need people like that. We need people to advocate for women to move forward in all of the industries. But it's when you see it done in a way where it's just this quiet confidence that's sustained over a really long career. And in so many different examples, you feel very much like we've got like a trailblazer out there doing it, and it sets the path for the rest of us. Like, I think
I haven't really felt that way since Heath Ledger.
Oh, that's a pretty great comparison.
Like, Heath just going for it. He was very on his own as an Australian overseas, being a creative that was really getting after it, proving himself and diving into films and really using his own life experience. And then The Joker was one of his last, because essentially, like, people create, and I've said this on the podcast before, you create in the hope that you can put out what you feel and your expression, self-expression, in the hope that others don't feel so alone. This is the root, I think, of then what you do in brand to then become addictive and become a voice that people want to be a part of.
Even from a marketing perspective, like, who am I? Like, why do I exist? Who am I for? Who am I speaking to? Not just like creating more noise for the sake of it, which I feel like film can do and marketing can do and branding can do.
Yeah.
But it's pretty special when you dig really deep and you like understand what it is you're talking about, who you're talking to, and how to do it in a way that gets remembered. Like, for example, I work with clients on like brand positioning. So market placement, who are your competitors, but not just your direct competitors, but the people that exist that are competing for your shared customers, like share of wallet and attention. And how do you distinguish yourself from them in a way that feels meaningful? So not just like, oh, we're cheaper or we've got brighter packaging or our ingredients are cleaner, but what is that brand story? Like, we're increasingly seeing founder-led brand building be really successful, and there's a reason for that. It's because people like vulnerability, they like feeling connected to people, And I feel like with Sofia, I would say like she created space to tell stories that people weren't telling. And I think that that's when you see the best marketing as well. It's like, what is the USP beyond, okay, let's take skincare for example. Like, oh, our USP is that we're vegan and we're Australian made. Like, that's not your USP. Your USP is what got you to the point where you've decided, like, that's it, I need to start a skincare brand, like nothing else exists. Or, you know, I've got a friend of mine in the office who has an incredible skincare brand called Yours Only, and she created her brand because nothing like it exists in the market at the time. And she had eczema and she was suffering with sensitive skin, and her brand has become very successful because it had meaning, and she genuinely backs it. And you can just tell the difference between that and the rest of the skincare brands that saturate the market. And I feel like Sofia probably in a different way started this flow-on effect of what it means when you kind of create stories and you tell them through marketing, through film, through books. And it's, again, like in so many different art forms, like John Green we spoke about, even how he then goes to approach storytelling, inspired no doubt by the Virgin Suicides, because he saw that being done first by Sofia. So I just think that she kind of drip feeds herself into everything, like including how great marketers can kind of market in a way that feels meaningful as well.
Yeah, which makes me wonder about her upbringing of Francis Ford Coppola. Like, was there gangsters at your house all the time? Like, what's that about?
Yeah. I know, these are the questions. I feel like she's an enigma. Yeah. And I feel like so many of her characters are as well. Like, even the sisters, they're perfectly summed up as like these like protected, shielded girls that the boys had this innate fascination with. And so it's like, did you experience that? Like, were people, again, like at your house growing up, did you feel that you were overly protected from the world? It's just interesting to understand how much of it is art and then how much of it was her reality. And is there any difference between the two as well? Like, is she just...
I don't think so when you romanticize things. In TikTok now, we're like romanticizing everything. It's that people are basically trying to make their lives art, right?
Yeah.
Like that aspirational, you know? Like, is there a show... Even, it's interesting when we think about like Euphoria. Yeah. We can't look away because it's like a car crash.
Yeah.
But no part of that life do I want.
Yeah.
So it's like, why do we love that traumatic, like fucked up? I think it's probably because we don't want to feel alone, because we've got one character that universally, regardless if Rue was dealing with drug addiction or whatever else, there's temptation to be and stay the same, or there's temptation to be better. And like choosing what you do and choosing who you want to become is like a universal feeling anyway.
Yeah.
And then it's just great because it's great in the worlds that these people create. But then now it's so interesting because as a filmmaker, I've got Remy and I'm like, how do I create this world? And I'm a bit stumped because I just don't know what I want it to be yet.
It's interesting when you take it, like when you say that, because I feel like everyone would have that in whatever their art form is. So whether that's a business or whether it's like an identity crisis and you're in Lost in Translation, like it's the same thing. Like, what is it? Who am I? And I just think when you draw it all back, like what is, like let's say Remy, for example, like why did you start it? And that's the story that you should just stick to, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, why did you start it? Probably because there was nothing else really that exists. Probably because that was a passion that you had.
I was letting myself down.
Well, yeah. And I feel like that is the story, and being able to create more content regarding, okay, that's your USP. Who are you speaking to? Like, how do you shift, your voice, your visual identity, whatever, the website, every touch point of the brand? How does it all consistently tell the same story? And how do you tell it in a way where it doesn't feel like marketing? Or how does Sofia Coppola tell a story in a way where it doesn't feel like Francis Ford, his daughter? Like, it's very distinct to her, and her approach to whatever that story is that she's telling. It's just very her, and it's really consistent.
Yeah.
So I feel like she has had so much influence. Like, she's an Lana Del Rey song. We spoke about that as well. Like, she is just so significant in the sense that there are so many different artists, I feel, that created art because of what she did.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that can be said about a lot of people.
No, that they'd feel that comfortable hanging their hat on one as well.
Yeah.
That's like pretty crazy to think about who's influenced you, and people are outwardly being like Sofia Coppola.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
and
so many people.
And she's also not that old. She's like maybe late 40s.
Yeah. Like, I think she's 47.
Yeah.
We should know. But something like that. She's got so much more success ahead of her as well, in terms of, you just know she's going to have like a long career.
Yeah.
And again, her daughter, I think, will be interesting to see how. I think her daughter's going to be really big. I mean, she kind of already is on TikTok, but it's like a very Gen Z trendy, if you know, you know kind of vibe, but you can just tell that she's going to be someone that will blow up.
It's so amazing that she'd just done something like Marie Antoinette and then she was like, oh, trash culture, let me explore that.
Yeah.
And do a film that is that.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to just immerse yourself so much because films you're not with them for 2 years, you're with them for 5.
That's
a really long time. Often you can be with them for 15. Like if you're an Australian filmmaker, often 10 years because it takes so long to get funding.
Really?
Yeah. And then like you think about Rabbit Proof Fence, Philip Noyce, who came on the podcast last year, he just got given the rights back to Rabbit Proof Fence. So he's now at the 25-year screening of Rabbit Proof.
Wow.
And they don't leave you, these features that people make. They're with you for your entire career and they're really important and big. And yeah, I feel like as we've discussed, she would be moving through life with these as the vehicle of her expression. But The Beguiled is fascinating because many reasons, but Clint Eastwood actually brought this out in 1971.
Yeah.
And it was focused on The Beguiled is of like a soldier in the kind of Gilded Age, and he arrives at a home. The women kind of dote on this man and bring him back to health, and then shit hits the fan. She wanted to then err on psychological of the female's experience of that, of what that is like. And firstly, huge to go up against Clint Eastwood. Not that it would ever be a competition, but to be like, that's a banging script.
Yeah.
Let me just...
I feel like also people get really upset when people do remakes of things and they haven't done it in a way that they wanted or expected. So I think it takes a lot of, what would you say instead of balls?
Courage,
grit, determination, confidence as well in herself to be like, I'll do this in the way that I think it needs to be told, like through a different lens, and not be petrified of public outrage, especially after The Godfather 3. And like naturally, most people would be scared to like do something that then disappoints people because it could have gone a different way where people are
I think she would have overcome that earlier though with like Marie Antoinette. She's not French and she's telling the story of somebody that drastically changed France forever or changed the European world as we know it forever. True. She was living in Paris at the time and I think that's where her curiosity came from, and then she had her baby and continued to live in Paris. But yeah, I feel like she would have
just
put shame on
I feel like
nerves.
She's not scared of people and she's not scared of reactions. Like she's got so much self-confidence, which is pretty rare, I think, to be able to create art not really caring whether or not it lands.
Maybe she does care. It just lands. It's interesting, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC, is talking about The Beguiled tells a gothic tale of desire.
Oh.
Which is so interesting because I think that Lost in Translation is also desire.
Yeah, definitely.
Very much desire-based. Compelling, uneasy, and anxious is what people have said about that film. The Beguiled. It is like, but that would also be her playing with music a lot to edge into anxious, for sure. She won the Best Director of The Beguiled at the Cannes Film Festival. She won the Palme d'Or. Winning the Palme d'Or is like being the best filmmaker that ever lived. She's the second woman to have ever won it. And then, what did she do after The Beguiled? Priscilla.
Now knowing what we know about, like, also her and the way she was going to tell that story was never going to be the same. And Priscilla and Elvis. I also love that she just called it Priscilla. Like she didn't even, because Elvis was just, like it was such a different story. So I feel like it needed to come out. I also feel like my auntie, for example, is absolutely obsessed with Elvis and I grew up with her obsession. So I think I was really interested to see how it would be told differently. And I think that she nailed that same sense of isolation, not really belonging. I'm talking about like through the lens of Priscilla, feeling that she has signed up for something that she wasn't fully sure what that was. And I feel like that's the same in Lost in Translation with the marriage. Do you remember when she kind of calls her
same in Marie Antoinette, like all of it.
And it's this kind of suffering experience that a lot of women maybe have when they're young, and there's like this identity crisis, whether it's a relationship or it's a job or whatever it is, and you're like, what do I do?
The
Where
lost
am I?
Moments,
who am I even? And I feel like Priscilla obviously endured a lot as well, and it obviously took quite a dark turn. Like I didn't know a lot about probably like the experiences that she lived through. And I'm really happy she told the story, especially right after Elvis was told.
This is a real moment of her finding her next muse, I think.
Kaylee Spaney.
And where did she come from?
Yeah, I'm just
because this is huge.
She had done On the Basis of Sex, Civil War, Alien, Bad Times at the El Royale.
God, her worlds are just so impressive.
Yeah, she on her casting of Jacob Elordi, she also spoke to the fact that she was drawn to how he influenced women or the reaction or effect that he had on women.
That's
which I
so true.
I think is so interesting.
Little Skevs boy, and breaking hearts all over the world.
Including Sophia's or like definitely her daughters.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they like, oh my God?
Well, she was 16 on the cast of of Priscilla. So can you imagine being a 16-year-old girl
like,
and Jacob Elordi's just like, you're just hanging around him for however many years it takes, like end to end. And if you go on her TikTok, which we'll get to later, like Jacob Elordi's like all over it. I feel like they're besties.
Okay. This has been more in your periphery naturally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also feel like it's very dark. Like I think she's told, and it gradually gets more so. So throughout the end of, towards the end of it, you feel really bad and you just want to like pluck this girl from this awful relationship that she's in. And it's very abusive, it's very toxic, it's really dangerous, and you feel so much empathy for her. And she's just been able to, again, it comes back to the storytelling, but it's not even really scripted. Like it's not as if there's a lot of dialogue talking about how bad it is, but it's just so abundantly obvious that this is a really bad situation. And the way that Sophia's able to articulate that or illustrate it, I suppose, is really interesting.
It's amazing to wonder if, and I don't know enough about like the press and her identification on this, but it's really powerful when you make a film that has toxicity and emotional and physical abuse involved in it, and how the vehicle that you have to reveal that to women that are going through it, to call the spade a spade. Because even I've been through emotionally abusive situations where I'm like making excuses for them, I'm doing all this, I'm doing that. But then when you watch film or theatre or literature and it's plain as day as an objective person, it's so powerful. And how she would have been able to paint that world with body language, silence, tension, all of that is just so incredible of all the things that she's used.
It's such a wake-up call moment, I think, when you're watching stories play out and you're like, oh my God, how are you not aware of what's happening to you? But that actually is the perfect summary of like what that experience is like when you are in toxic relationships or you are in these objectively dangerous situations and you've got everybody in your life telling you like, this is really bad, what are you doing?
You don't understand.
Yeah, you're just making up excuses for them. I'm so sad that we can both relate to that. But like, yeah, that's such a but it's true. It's like in the moment you don't see it, even though everyone else sees it. It's like you've got
blinkers are on, and you're just in it, and you're like, no, you don't get it, and you make up so many excuses.
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
Then in hindsight, you're like, what the hell? Like, how did I? Why did I do that? And I think that's why she has, like, I think with Priscilla, you can sort of start to see her become more and more aware that the situation's getting worse and worse and worse. And I feel like that's really accurate when you're in those situations as well. Sometimes there needs to be this like awful thing that happens that's like, okay, finally I can go,
Yeah.
And I think that that's what she nailed, and she does it. She tells the stories of the female experience so well.
Yeah.
It just makes you think all of these things that she has created art about, she must have lived through them because she's done it so accurately.
Yeah.
Whether or not she has or not, I guess we'll just never know.
Well, she does enough research with the bling ring. I know she met and spoke with so many. Yeah. She really goes deep.
All out.
Yeah. Then if we go back to Somewhere, which I loved that film. It was set in Chateau Marmont. And
you said that so nicely.
What? Chateau Marmont?
Yeah. I was like,
it's very introverted, and just moments like there's a beautiful moment of boredom, and the two are by the pool. Ella Fanning plays like an 11-year-old that gets custody, sort of has to go live with her dad, and her dad's an actor that's living in the Chateau Marmont because so many actors do live there, and it's so romantic as a place because of the legendary, like just the Chateau Marmont-ness that comes with that place. If the walls could speak, that's it. Like, that is one of the most, and actually it's owned by an Australian, which is fucking crazy to me.
Really?
Yeah, it changed hands 10 years ago. Amazing. Like, that place is unreal. And
I want to go.
yeah, you would love it. You'd be like looking over your shoulder being like, who's there? I was there like 5 years ago and Selma Hayek was next to me.
Oh, is it giving like the Beverly Hills Hotel? But
yes, but a bit more up on a hill.
Yeah, right.
Sort of like, you don't know who's sleeping upstairs, like unreal. And also like a lot of sex, drugs and rock and roll.
Right.
Yeah, like a lot of pool parties, a lot of like, and also Marilyn Monroe age kind of.
Okay, this sounds
really,
I'm like
really
fleshing
like
out the rest of my Europe trip.
Yeah, like
extend
the history. Well, no, it's in LA.
What?
The Chateau Marmont is a hotel in LA. Yeah, it's in West Hollywood.
We were talking about France.
Because it's a chateau. You're probably like, oh, what the fuck is that? Yeah, Chateau Marmont is a huge, like, institutionalized hotel in Los Angeles.
I fear that was the stupidest thing I've ever said.
No. No, not at all. It's unreal. So it's iconic on its own. So she's probably like shooting in a hotel from Lost in Translation, moving into Versailles with her film crew, then moving into Chateau Marmont. But from the scripting and stuff, Elle Fanning and the guy that plays the lead actor, I can't remember his name, they're on the pool deck chairs just chilling. And there's a scene there that there's very little dialogue between them. And it's just that ness where you're a kid and you've got so many interests, but you're disconnected because there's a dad, and the dad doesn't necessarily know what to say in conversation with you. Like, even my dad has it now. He's like, so there's this little film thing you're doing. What are you up to?
Yeah.
What's the podcast? Is it on the radio? How do I listen to it? You know, like, doesn't know what to say, but you have to exist because you're in their care and you're bored, but it's so beautiful. But it's like, you know, like
what does our relationship look like when we don't exactly know each other because we're so far apart from understanding each other.
Yeah. And how they begin to move around each other based on that, but also extreme privilege because you're in the most expensive, exclusive hotel in Los Angeles and you're bored.
Yeah.
Because you're 11 and you don't know.
Yeah.
So that would have come up and that would have, but she's so in on her worlds. She doesn't choose middle class. America, blur, like, oh, we're in a house and I don't know, whatever. It's just average.
I love that about her.
Yeah.
And again, it just comes back to like she knows, like she definitely draws on her lived experiences. I mean, obviously, but I feel like at the beginning we were like, oh, I wonder if she was influenced by, she obviously has been.
Yeah.
I feel like everything she's produced has been a reflection of an experience that she probably had, particularly growing up, and like what an incredible, unique childhood she would have had.
Yeah.
To then create so much art off the back of. Like, there was a quote of hers, I think it was in that podcast we referenced earlier, and she was talking about how they got in trouble when they landed their helicopter at Disneyland. And that was when she became like acutely aware of, oh, okay, like this is, you know, maybe we're rich or like maybe this is well beyond, you know, norm. Because I guess when you're born into it, you wouldn't really understand that it's unusual to fly your helicopter to Disneyland until you're held to account for the first time or you get in trouble and you realize that's not normal. So it's interesting as an adult how she's then gone back and like she's creating art showing, I guess, like what she probably felt when she had this coming of age aha moment of like, oh, this is, you know, this isn't exactly the normality of what everyone else lives through.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I can speak to that. I think how I see women now in glamour and like luxury would be very poignant to my upbringing in hotels and like just how you see things and how you experience and how you see luxury and how, I think that like I would be expressing something that's very of the DNA as well.
Yeah.
Of like what, I think it's so interesting.
It is.
But what do you pull from?
From
like,
Sophia?
No, just from your
childhood?
Yeah, like no, there's childhood feels like it's like we're on this is your life or something. But like from where are you pulling brand identity and stuff from? Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of one of those things where I've always loved reading. Like I've always loved classic, like girl who writes, loves reading growing up. And I think that my approach, so Adora was a copywriting agency. That's how it sort of started out. So I would just write people's like about pages, website copy, product descriptions. And then it became obviously now a lot more multi-service. But I feel like I've always drawn on writers that I liked their style in terms of like novelists and authors as opposed to marketers. And I feel like anyone in the industry that I know, especially more in like editorial writing style, it's always based off a more creative approach to storytelling. It's not just like, oh, I did a marketing degree or I did some sort of course and it taught me how to sell, like the psychology of selling. So I feel like I've always drawn on writing styles. Like I love Dolly Alderton is like one of my favorite writers. And all of my favorite books and what their writing style is, mine naturally mimics theirs, I'm sure, because that's what I think is great. And so I kind of try to emulate that. So then when it comes to understanding how to create like brand voice and brand identity, I think a lot of that is that like really punchy, witty, like human-led like messaging, which is probably my style. And that's really been inspired by the books that I read growing up. Or the writing that I still love to read, but not necessarily because it's like marketing or brand. It's just the story and the escapism that I love. Yeah. So I think it's interesting. You can definitely tell, I think you can tell the difference between people that do or approach brand building from a storytelling perspective versus people that might be excellent like salesmen type people, and that's kind of the approach they've taken. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint it. I would say it's probably just an accumulation of growing up. I loved magazines. I loved like reading novels, and then I wanted my writing to be witty and punchy and like spunky. And I think that that's kind of the approach that I've got. But I don't know if I could say I grew up necessarily and had the same experience where I had like this innate understanding that you did of all these different people, because I didn't even know I wanted to do mine.
So much commonality in how we're taken on journeys on a storytelling point of view.
And I also think we said right at the beginning, like the pipe between one person's art and another's is often really small because of the culture that you both grew up in and because of all of the material that you both either read or consumed or watched or all the things.
Yeah.
And it's interesting then to be able to like draw comparisons on two separate pieces, two separate stories, but potentially how they were then inspired, and then what was the originality of their inspiration and how far back can you take it? Because I think that's something that we, you know, as creatives, there's definitely a lot of pressure on being, you know, the first and only person to create something.
Totally.
But it's really interesting. And obviously this doesn't go like plagiarism is not what I'm talking about, but just in terms of, okay, we've all been inspired probably by a lot of the same things. And what does that then mean? How do we trace it back? And to what end? Like where did the first idea start that then led to so many others?
Yeah. In the episode with Kirsty Clements, did you listen to that?
No,
you should. It's really good. She's the former editor of Vogue.
Oh my God.
She and I talked about how she teaches and she goes on and she teaches at the moment, and they trace back low-slung jeans to Y2K, and she's like, have you heard of the 70s?
Yeah.
Like that kind of piece. She is probably someone in my life that I heard her speak very early on in my career about that and referencing and being curious enough to not just stop and be like, okay, where did that actually come from? Because if you are really a true artist and you're going to take ownership of something, huge difference if you're doing that trend where you throw a box at someone on TikTok.
Yeah.
But you're really trying to create something that is in a body of work, which I'm battling with right now. I don't think I've had a body of work since 2016.
What do you mean by
I think
that?
I've been selling since 2016, when I understood the money I could earn and how hot you can be as a director to be like, oh, she just did Vogue, she did Mecca, she did this, she did that. But even when you do that, you don't get director's cut or final cut. There's so many comments that come in and all this other shit comes out of the work. And I was telling Jane from Artbox on an episode recently, this guy who owns an agency in New Zealand was looking through he got me to catalogue all of my work from 2016 to present day in an Excel spreadsheet and write the client and the year that I did it. And he was like, the best example of your work that is the most you was a piece that I did called Jenard, which means grace. And it was a film based on African dance. No idea why I wanted to do that. I just was fascinated with their movement and their freedom. I feel like there's so much in their heritage of dance. Like they use their bodies in a way that's fucking unreal. And then I worked with Tani Edwards, who's a model based in Melbourne, and she came with me to do it. Tani is of African descent. So I was like, I want to embody this with you, and I just kind of want to go on this journey. But we're going to move your body in a way that we don't fling our bodies around like this as women. We try and like conform. And there was a lot of like flinging around and all sorts of different stuff. And we did it. Basic loaned us clothes for it. They had no fucking clue what was going on. We drove out 5 hours each way to the salt flats, pink salt flats. And the film's unreal and it's really cool.
I need to see this.
It's so random. You guys are like, what planet are you on, Arielle? But it was probably the most pure thing that I've ever made just for the sake of making something, to be like, I want to do fashion film and I want it to mean something and I want it to have, this is what it's going to be. And then previous to that, I made Meat and Potatoes, which was a comedy short film which won Trop Fest.
Really?
Yes, that was very fun and I was the lead. And then that was just so much fun to do. But since then, I learned how to sell. I don't think any of that I would put in my body of work, which is actually really alarming because I'm thinking about this for the first time ever right now on the mic with you.
Like very confronting thoughts.
What the fuck have I been doing?
I really feel like that's quite common. I feel like there'd be a lot of people listening being like, the moment you put a price. But I also feel like people definitely, you're not the first person to say that. Like, you won't be the last. I definitely agree. Like, I feel the work I'm the most proud of isn't work that I've sold to other people, which is maybe a bit sad. And I mean specifically in terms of like writing, because I feel that you draw on your own experiences. So it's a bit different because I was working like brand marketing. So of course I'm writing for businesses. I'm creating stories for businesses. But all of the stuff I've done that I've been the most proud of have been when I'm writing about myself. Like, I wrote this piece last year. This is like a little bit of a sad story, but it's all good now. Happy ending. My boyfriend had cancer. And
current boyfriend?
Yeah, current boyfriend.
Right.
And it was in the midst of like COVID when he had chemotherapy, and it was awful. And anyway, so I'd written this piece, and it kind of, when you're just, I think you just bottle everything. And obviously at the time that wasn't my experience to, endure. That was his, and you just are there for them. And it was years later, and I kind of wrote about it for the first time, and I felt like was the best thing I'd ever written because it was so real and so raw and like so vulnerable, and I'd shared it. And also the reactions, of course, when you're talking about cancer, and I titled it like Long Distance Isn't as Bad as Cancer, and the purpose of it being like we did long distance for 2.5 years and then he'd had cancer, and I was trying to kind of draw comparisons and being like, life's so relative, because at the time I thought that was the worst thing that would happen to us. So I was like, oh, you're in America, I'm in Australia. But then he came back and he got cancer. And sharing that, obviously the reactions that you get when people are like, thank you so much for sharing this, like my mum's got cancer, I've never felt understood, this is the first time, that means so much more than when a client's like, oh, approved, great,
brilliant,
put it on the headline, like, banner copy. But, and amazing, that's great as well, and a different level of satisfaction. But I definitely agree, like you can't sell your best work, because I feel like the moment you commercialize it, it just changes. This is a whole episode in itself, I feel.
But I've had experiences like that where people have written my story without my permission. There's like been things that have happened, and I've dated people and been like, and this is unfolding. And then they've been like, oh, I wrote a script about it. It's sick. Like, this is what it is. And I'm like, oh, I did not give you permission to use my life. As
and my likeness.
Yeah.
Can you do anything about that in that instance?
No, not in Melbourne, Australia, for a short film that probably never got made. No.
Like, but please don't do that.
No, just revenge. Like, I'll just egg his house or something.
I'll go.
Feel like you're in the dead box. A dead box is a thing that I created with one of my friends, Joel, where if people cross us more than, they get 4 nails and then they're done.
A dead box, and then it's like their coffin.
So it's like you're
like
dead.
That.
When he like this guy that I was dating, and like the first thing he does is say, okay, well, nail number 1, we'll give him a few more chances. And then it's like, no, that's 2 nails.
Do
he's
you
dead.
tell them like if they've been
No, it's only among friends that like when I'm venting to Joel or whatever, he'll be like,
I think it would be pretty powerful for you to inform people that like this is your 3rd nail, 4 nails and you're out.
Imagine
4 nails, you're 6 foot under.
Well, I feel like that's just discipline, isn't it?
To
be like 3 strikes, you're out.
Boundaries.
We have a strike system here in this relationship.
Are you jealous? This
is the I am.
Time, actually.
Otis keeps going to Elena, and I'm like, cool. Whatever, he loves you. I mean, this book is a gift because we're seeing her process. Like, even onto the scripts, and she's written in a big fat blue marker, CU, which means close up. As like somebody that understands that world.
That's like gold.
To be like, oh, that's how you do it? Like, that's so easy that's her footnotes and her own shorthand. I love being exposed to people that you really admire their shorthand. That's essentially what Process is for, literally doing that. So this book has been unbelievable. I'm excited for the next one. But also she did an A25 interview recently, and what I love, she was talking to a woman that was a female film director but recent, had gone into film. Previous to that, she was a New York playwright, film director, a theatre director, sorry. And they were talking about, it was really nice because they were throwing out all the names of the theatres, like the Rattlestick and stuff, which when I was living there, you have to just go see so much theatre when you're in theatre school. It's insane.
I need to
so
know more about
yeah, it was really nice to hear all the names and stuff coming up. But they were speaking about, because Sofia was writing a two-hander, and two-handers are traditionally, as I mentioned before, the hardest things to do because there's no bells and whistles. It's you and another person, and you have to be so engaged with so much emotion and so much going on within the two of you that you can keep an entire audience engaged and fascinated on the edge of their seats to stay with you through whatever the talent or whatever is going through. Like my first play that I did back in Melbourne, we did a play called Out of Gas on Lovers Leap, and it was a two-hander. So hard for 2 hours. We're on stage, just the two of us. Not one of us gets a break. It's wild. And you have to keep charging with twists, and it's like the ultimate exercise in the human condition, because one person does something and the other person explodes, and then the other person's trying to talk them down off of that new emotion, and then they're developing emotion, and it's just this huge thing that just barrels through. And you don't have music, or you do, but you don't have transitions and camera movements and energy to set it. It has to exist within the talent and in the writing. So it's much more naked in its talent. Sofia could potentially write a brilliant script, and there's really sexy actors that nobody realizes it's just Jacob Elordi and the writing's terrible. Maybe he's just amazing to look at. But you really get told if you're good or bad in playwriting, because it's like naked. There's nothing to help you there. It's either good or shit.
It'll be so interesting to see what then the performance is of the once it's all,
if she does it. But she was speaking to this playwright and generally getting advice, and it was a real, not a wake up call, but a real privilege to listen to their shorthand in this podcast together, because Sofia was really listening and she was taking it in and being like, that is so interesting. I'm going to use that technique that you've just told me about. That's so cool. Wow. Yeah, no, now I'm just thinking about how to do that. And like, she was so inquisitive and curious, and it made me love her so much more, because there is no, well, I'm Sofia Coppola, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, a lot of actors and Hollywood film stars and stuff will have acting coaches, but they'll be in private because they would never want the shame that performance didn't wholeheartedly belong to them. They actually were in theatre. Yeah, like they were in training for it for 6 months with an acting coach, getting it to the creme de la creme before the director even sees that performance sometimes. Like a guy that used to come out to Australia, Larry Moss, he's Leonardo DiCaprio's acting coach. And Larry is really behind The Aviator, Oscar nominations, all of that, because you work with this one person and they're so brilliant. But actors would never really be like, I owe this to Larry Moss. You gave me everything. They thank their parents and shit. They never really thank the tools. So it was just really amazing to hear Sofia so openly be like, thank you so much for just giving me a tool, rather than calling up her dad being like, yo, who's like, can we go talk to like who's like who's who. She really got information and intel from someone that is really on the come up. Compared to,
it just goes to show she's never lost that innate desire to learn, and as you keep saying, like, she's so curious, which I think separates her probably from a lot of people that are born into privilege and wealth and
totally
like the dynasty of the family that she was born into. She could very easily have just been like, I've got my people, like I don't need to learn.
Like,
I'm good. Yeah, like I know how to do it. But I'm sure she's probably going to just be that way for the rest of her life. And that's probably what separates the good from the great, is as the world evolves and the stories that she needs to tell evolves, like she's prepared to evolve with it, which probably can't be said for a lot of people like born into Hollywood wealth.
Her like biggest confidant and partner in crime, but he's produced a lot of her films and they're really, really close. So she named her daughter after her older brother, which we love.
We love that. She's a girl. She's a family girl.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just going to play it to you.
Yeah, do. I can't wait.
I'll give you a quick little rundown. So basically, it's so funny. It's since been deleted, but it's iconic. So basically, Sofia's daughter, okay, I'm just going to play. This is where she went viral.
She lost pasta with me because I'm grounded, because I tried to charter a helicopter from New York to Maryland on my dad's credit card because I wanted to have dinner with him. Yeah, let's start it. Because I tried to charter a helicopter from New York to Maryland on my dad's credit card because I wanted to have dinner with him.
So she tried to charter a helicopter on her dad's credit card and she got grounded because they were like...
To be fair, though, like I've been in New York. You open Uber and Uber Chopper's there. If your dad's credit card's linked to your
my
Uber,
God, that's so...
you can literally book it. I would never.
I need to
But you can do that
happened.
if she like had it and it was like en route.
Yeah, we're like, how is this a private like how?
Where's Maryland? Is that where she said?
Yeah. The top comment is, I actually love this. I feel like she's not pretending to be anything other than a Nepo baby, which is just so accurate. And then look, she's got this video of her with Sofia in the background. And she's just like existing.
Classic.
And the things are like, I can't believe you have your own Sofia Coppola at home. And it's just like all of the comments on here.
When was that? When did that come out?
3 days ago.
Yeah, okay.
So like she's still posting her a lot. She's actually referenced in quite a lot of her videos. And then like you go on her Instagram and it's just like,
who is that?
Jacob Elordi.
And she's just behind the scenes.
Yeah. Like her just on a jet.
Self-care that resembled substance abuse. Who's she with on the jet? What is the conversation that she's pinned that says no words to this conversation?
Yeah, if you wake up.
They had sex in your car? Yeah. And you let them?
I say, okay. I thought that you cannot do that.
Who are these people? We don't know.
Maybe a grandparent?
We're having intercourse in your vehicle.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
Oh, no, it's an Uber driver.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this the Uber helicopter?
That's not enough.
They had sex in the car. And she's talking about the tip that she left them. Okay, so she gets it. She understands humor.
So funny. I need to find the video of her with Jacob Elordi. Also, don't you just feel like the filters that she even puts on her videos looks like a Sofia Coppola film?
Yeah, it's very pastel and purpley, guys. She's got a good eye.
She's just so funny. Like how... Oh, and then also this soundtrack is like...
When my room is messy, when a girl's room is messy, it's Sofia Coppola. It's Hell is a Teenage Girl. It's Lindsay Lohan in an early 2000s movie. It's indie. It's hot.
Don't you just think it's so iconic that there are like audio on TikTok that people are still using, and it's like, Hell is a Teenage Girl. And it's just so... Oh.
It'd be interesting as a mum, and my mum's had this with me because I swear on the podcast.
Oh, does she get mad at you?
She's like, don't do that. It's not that like elegant. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just like, I don't care. This is my podcast, Mum.
Yeah.
It'd be hard being an introverted individual, having an extroverted daughter on the public stage. Firstly, being young and like shaking hips. She's not naked. I feel like it's tasteful. But you know the vibe.
Yeah.
Being like calling out somebody else, being like, what the fuck is Alabama something? I don't even know what she's talking about. But you know what I mean? Like that would be hard to be like.
Very different. Yeah. From each
really
other.
different. And that journey, I wonder if that's something that we're going to see come from her soon of adapt, because you lose control, I guess, of your image and your, people's portrayal of you when you have kids that are outward and
100%.
Raising them in New York, though, I mean, what did you expect?
I also kind of, that's true. But then Sofia was raised in New York, or I guess like kind of not really. She was bouncing all around. But I feel like it's interesting, as you said, because she's really quiet and she's contained. Sofia, I'm talking about, and she's demure and she's like elegant. She's sophisticated, and then
she's very like French girl chic.
Yeah, she is. But we know a lot about her as an adult, so I wonder if she was also similar when she was 16, 17, 18. Like, was she, if Uber helicopter was a thing, like was she also going to try and get her dad's helicopter? So I think it's really interesting to compare them, but it's also like they're at such different ages that it would be impossible to know. Maybe Romy Mars is going to grow up to be equally as demure. Like, we just don't know. But right now, it's really fascinating because obviously Sofia influenced Tumblr, like sad girl aesthetic.
Yeah.
And even now, like I logged onto my Tumblr from like way back when, and I was like spinning and saving things that were probably very inspired by Sofia. And then now TikTok is like very Gen Z, it's still a thing. Like, she's just carried herself across all of these different platforms. And she's known not just because of the films that she's created, but because of that like melancholy feeling. And it lingers.
It's crazy to have created a feeling but not represent the feeling.
Yeah.
If someone said to me, what's it like hanging out with her? I would never be like melancholy.
Yeah.
I would be like inquisitive, intelligent, thoughtful, but then her films have this You know, that's interesting too.
I wonder if this is like, I feel like the people that are the most inquisitive, the most intelligent, the most interesting probably are also very melancholy. Like she's very intelligent, but it also doesn't mean that she might not be like very quiet, and she might echo a lot of the sentiments that her characters feel. And so she can be both. Like I think that
absolutely,
it's often the people that are really loud and abrasive that you wouldn't necessarily consider to be particularly intelligent. I don't know if that's just my experience of people in life. But I would say the people that I'm the most impressed by, I imagine would have their own sad girl aesthetic, you know?
Mm.
Is that sad to say?
Behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors.
They just don't let it into the brand that is them.
Yeah.
Well, because we only really see her writing press releases or in her daughter's TikToks.
Yes. And like more and more so in her daughter's TikToks. It's so funny. She's in like
I'm going to follow it. I want to see this.
I followed her daughter.
I love this.
I feel like it's the continuation of the...
Yeah, to get like the tea. Okay, so this episode now kicks off on a whole month's worth of being cozy, deep diving into watching all these films, reading everything that you can get your hands on, and really establishing that there's so much more to context and creative work and inspiration than what we may initially scratch the surface with.
Mm-hmm.
So From Scratch is really about going back, but also looking around at your own life and your own textures to work out what it is that you're trying to say, and believing in that. And also, as I mentioned before, helping me to kind of establish these chapters of being a creative little being and not be so afraid of the new or the, you know?
Yeah.
And that kind of...
It's the
part
process.
of it.
Like it's quite literally. Do you just hate that whenever you say the word, you're like, oh, but there is real no substitute?
Guests get freaked out when they say it. They're like, I'm like, it's fine. I'll cut it out. Like,
no, but it's like, it's so true because it's the process, it's the journey, or like whatever we want to say. It's essentially, it's fascinating to see how creativity evolves and ebbs and flows, and how we've all in the end been inspired by a lot of the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, Sophia's one person. There's so many other people that are widely like acclaimed and really successful. And I'm sure we could have a whole episode on, you know, somebody else and draw back what we're doing now to that person. Oh, we will. Stay tuned. But it's just, it's really cool to see how a movie that she created, you know, in the 90s based on the 70s, and how we're now seeing her like influence in Lana Del Rey songs and in her daughter's TikToks that other people are recreating, and she's just had such a sustained and lasting effect, which is probably quite difficult to do. So
our next From Scratch, it's a creative director. They are incredible, and that's all I'm allowed to say because otherwise I'll give it too much away.
Oh, just creative director.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like if you say any more hints, I'd know.
Yeah, I mean, keep it broad. Could be anyone.
I know.
Could be you.
No, it's not. Lol. It's me. So now Elena and I have to go away and pretty hectically dive into this person's life so that we can bring it to you in a month's time. But thank you so much for joining me. I feel like that was good. Were we okay?
I hope so.
I'm sure. Can you guys please DM us or comment or let us know what you think of this, because we just want to give you some substance. It's cold outside. Yeah. We've got to be, you know.
She's such an influential person and character. So it was really fascinating kind of existing in the Sofia Coppola world for the past
It's definitely changed my palette too. Yeah. Like you're a creature of who you kind of absorb yourself around and all that. I definitely have been more attracted to pastels and her gaze. I've become a more diligent filmmaker, I think, because I'm doing the work just in that extra level of, I don't know how to really word it, because like all I've been doing is Kmart ads, but lol. But I'm like, I'm better at my craft because I've been absorbing so much film rather than socials. Yeah. And she's absolutely incredible. So I hope that you guys loved this episode. It's a new format, obviously, From Scratch. Let us know what you thought. And thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. See you next month.
Bye. That brings me to the end of our episode with Sofia. If you loved this episode, please head over to the Instagram and follow along for all the other work that we're sharing so that you can get the visual pairing of what this creative is really about. Thank you to Elena from Adora House for joining me, and I will see you next Tuesday.